This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar. Hello, everybody.
Nailed it. Joined as always by our Barth.
That's a fit. That's a match.
No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
If you get that game from Will Campbell for 17 games, great. Like the blocking, the penalties, like you said, like that can't happen. If that happens in December, I'll hold it against him a lot more than happening in his first NFL start.
I like how you're doing this podcast with David Andrews because now you're interested in the offense.
I was always interested, but now I just feel more. That's Well, don't say I was never interested.
You're not. I'm saying interested in like
we get
you
asked,
have takes about it.
Oh,
like,
no,
normally I like you just kind of
because this is your area of expertise.
No, and I love
usually
it.
just default to you and
This
let
is
you
great.
cook
We
it
get
out.
it. You did a podcast with David Andrews.
Have you
Very
listened to
cool.
it?
I have not.
22.
Do it, but
There's two now.
Will Campbell's a good jumping off point to this. I'm not ready to declare victory yet on Will Campbell, Alex, after two games. One really, really good game and one, I think, decent game. Like the opener could have been a little bit better in some areas, no doubt about it. I'm not ready to declare victory yet on Will Campbell, but it's certainly trending in the right direction on Will Campbell. I feel pretty good about what he's done over the first two games. Feel pretty good about the Patriots right now. Good about their offense. It's amazing how much better you feel coming off a game, not necessarily even just that they won, but a game where the quarterback plays well. It just, the whole thing, even if they, go out on Sunday against Pittsburgh and lose, if Drake Maye gets into this shootout back and forth game with Aaron Rodgers, like you're still going to come out of that game feeling really good about it. I want to talk offense. I want to start with offense, of course. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Patriots defense. Not as good, Alex, on that side of the ball. Maybe some more problems over there than what we've seen with the offense. We're going to do 3 up, 3 down. We're going to talk a little Steelers. We'll open the show up in the second half to your lovely calls and emails. But it's Evan Lazar, Alex Barth, Alex Behind the Glass, Patriots Catch-22. And I want to start with the offense. And I just want to say that there was two schools of thought after last week. I crashed out after the game last week against the Raiders. I crashed out. I was very unhappy about what I saw for the Patriots offense. I was really disappointed and kind of perplexed. And I think the what I missed in last week's show, because I let the emotional side of me get the best of me, and I kind of forgot to mention this last week. One of the things that I missed was the fact that in training camp, we saw all of the bells and whistles that we saw against the Dolphins that we did not see in week 1 against the Raiders. We saw the motion. We saw the bootlegs. We saw the running backs getting vertical out of the backfield on wheel routes and things like that. And then they played the Raiders and none of it was there. Like they completely stripped it down. They almost treated it like a 4th preseason game, and it just completely went out the door. And I was like, where is all the cool stuff? Like, where is all the fun stuff, Josh McDaniels? Where did it go? Because you were doing it in Minnesota in joint practices. You're doing it in against Washington in joint practices. And then we got to the opener against the Raiders, and I was given nothing to work with. And I was like, where's all the fun stuff? Then fast forward a week to Miami, and then now this is more like it. This is what we were looking for. So as much as I fully admit that I crashed out in week 1, I'm not going to allow for, you should have been patient. You should have given it more time. It was only one game. I'm not going to allow for that, because the numbers, and I want to lay out some of the numbers here in a second, speak to this. It was such a stark difference between what they called and what they ran in week 1 to what they ran in week 2 that I'm sorry. I'm not going to just sit there and say that I overreacted to week 1, because it was just a completely different thing. Like, they completely threw out what they did in the opener against the Raiders that didn't work, and then did all the cool stuff that we were seeing in training camp over the summer, and it paid dividends. Drake Maye was fantastic. This was his best game as a pro, I think, by all accounts, whether you want to go eye test, whether you want to go stats, whether you want to go efficiency, PFF grade, whatever you want to look at, just across the board. But I want to stick on McDaniels in the scheme because you know that's what I do, and then we'll give Drake his flowers here. So a couple of numbers, and I published this in After Further Review this week. If all these numbers that I'm about to throw at you overwhelm your brain and you want to read them instead of hear me say them, then you can go there. So in week 1, the shotgun rate, how often Drake Maye was in shotgun, almost 78% of the time in shotgun in week 1. That was down to 42% of the time in week 2. The other big one that really stood out to me, which is a stat that I am really starting to love, that next gen kind of combines runs and play actions into run actions. So it's all one number baked in. Run plays, rush attempts, combined with play action dropbacks. You with me? All right. So in week 1, 35% run action rate for the Patriots. In week 2, they almost doubled that, 60% in week 2. So they were under center more. They were run plus play actioning more. And then, of course, the big one, the motion rate, right? The motion rate increases by over 50%, 69.2% in week 2, 17.6% in week 1, the lowest rate of motion in the NFL in week 1 to one of the highest rates of motion in the NFL in week 2. They completely changed up what they did. And whether or not in week 1 we were building to this point, whether or not the game script or the game flow got away from them in week 1, which I'm also really not buying because that game never really got away from them against the Raiders. It wasn't like they all of a sudden until the fourth quarter when they got down by 10 points, they weren't ever out of that game where you had to get into drop back passing. They chose to not go this direction in week 1. In week 2, they did. And that brings us to Drake Maye, which just my opening take on Drake Maye. I actually thought the fourth down throw to Diggs is what got him going. I thought converting the fourth down, not punting or turning the ball over on downs there on the opening drive, got him some confidence, got him going in the game. And then they started hitting the moving pockets, right? And you start moving his feet, getting him out on the run, having him read half the field instead of reading full field progressions, reading more. When you bootleg, you're reading more like posture or leverage of the defender. You're not getting so caught up in, is it one high? Is it two high? Is it man? Is it zone? Like all these different intricacies in the drop back game that you have to think about. When you cut the field in half like that, all you're reading is one guy. Like, does this guy, does he keep contained, first of all, right? Does he bite or not bite? But then also, is he playing it high to low or low to high? And where's the opening there on that side of the field? It simplifies things. He's great on the move. He's got the power arm to throw the ball from off platform on the move. So a combination of the fourth down play to Diggs and then the boots after that, Leak obviously, and then the touchdown pass to Hollins, that really, I thought, had him cooking. Like, that really got him into this game and settled him down. And then he was absolutely fantastic from start to finish in this game for 60 minutes. So the play calling changed. I thought that this is exactly the way that they need to run this offense, not to toot my own horn or pat myself on the back, but we talked about all of this stuff last week. The importance of the run game, the importance of play action, the importance of motion. All of those things that we touched on in the show last week, they did all of them this week. I'm a happy camper. I'm a happy camper today. That was exactly what I was looking for. What were your big picture takeaways from this game?
Yeah, I think how much they changed the offense, and a lot of what you just said. I think especially getting Maye on the move, rolling him out, the moving pockets. But part of the reason you're able to do that with such success is the run game. You look at and it was early in the game, but even still, the way they were running the ball on the leak play to Austin Hooper, you go back and watch that play and watch all three of the Dolphins linebackers on that play. They all bite incredibly hard. And what happens is Tyrell Dotson ends up in a spot where he essentially has to cover three people. They're in zone, and the other two linebackers are just so far downhill, they're kind of out of the play. And he's got Jack Westover going one way. He's got Austin Hooper going the other, and then I think the back was in there too. There was somebody else kind of in that area, and he starts following West over, and Austin Hooper runs the route up along the sideline all alone. And honestly, not to nitpick, because Drake Maye was awesome, like you said, but if it's a better throw, Hooper maybe walks in with a touchdown. So their ability to run the ball, between the tackles, their ability to run the ball. When I say without gimmicks, they definitely dressed it up a little bit. They did some bells and whistles, but you go back to last week where they struggled to run the ball, and I think they ultimately ran for like 3.4 yards per carry against the Raiders. That number is pretty significantly inflated by that fake tush push end around of Travion Henderson, which is like not a real traditional run play. You're not building anything off of that outside of maybe keeping the other team honest if you want to run a tush push. So in terms of just, meat and potatoes runs.
Yeah.
And some of it's dressed up with motion, but runs you can build off of, runs you're going to call on a regular basis. They were much better. They're much better between the tackles. And some of that goes to Drake Maye. So I'll reference the David Andrews podcast again. Something that he pointed out as one of Maye's best plays was a run play where they motion Hunter Henry out from the fullback to the left side off tackle. And then Maye sees something, pulls Mac Hollins in, literally points out the assignment. They then run, they pull Jared Wilson, they run behind him. That was Ramondre's 21-yard run.
Yeah.
And it's set up because Drake makes that adjustment, calls it out at the line of scrimmage. So building, and then they used a similar motion sequence and a similar look on the pass to, and they did this with a separate motion too in there, but there's a kind of similar look on the touchdown to Mac Hollins. So they were able to run the ball. They were able to get downhill. I think you saw in this game why Ramondre Stevenson, we've taken a little bit of heat for kind of, why don't you want Travion Henderson as involved? Haven't you seen how good he is in the preseason? And I don't think you can build it all on Ramondre either. I'm not going to sit here and say that's why Ramondre Stevenson should be their feature back. No, neither one should be their feature back. But when you get Ramondre a lane, it doesn't have to be a big lane, but you get him a lane and you let him get up to that second level, and now it's a linebacker or even a safety that he's taking on, and he can try to make that guy miss, or at least he's going to win the tackle more often than not. What I mean by that is he's not somebody that's getting tackled backwards, right? When he gets tackled, he's still falling forward and picking up some hidden yardage there, a couple of yards, one or two, as he gets brought to the ground. When you can let him get up to the second level and do that, it really changes how their whole offense can operate. And he's built for those body blows in a way Travion Henderson isn't. So I think it all started with the run game. Drake Maye was awesome. This was the best game of his career. I think if you get that level of quarterback play from him regularly, and by the way, 3 of 4 halves this year, he's been really good for whatever that's worth. Because I know everybody took their victory lap on JJ McCarthy for playing one good quarter of 4 last week.
You're doing a lot of your own victory lapping right now.
I'm just saying, is it wrong to say Drake Maye has played 3 of 4 halves of very good football?
No, I think the first half of the Raiders game was better than maybe he got credit for.
I thought it was solid. It's because of what happened next.
Right.
And that can't happen. Like, he's got to sustain, but he sustained. Sure. Didn't turn the ball over, by the way. So I thought he was really good in this game, but I think it all started with their ability to finally get the run game going, and everything was built off of that. So as happy as I am to see Drake Maye do what he did, I don't want to take anything away from him. That was kind of the expectation, that he was going to look like that, right? And I think the bigger development for me might be how well they ran the football.
Yeah, I mean, that was what we were harping on last week. It was, what I had led with, and after further review after week 1, is that this team is built to run the football. Like, they have to be able to run the football offensively. They cannot be a drop back pass team that drops back 45 times a game. Like, that's just not a winning formula for them. And not only does the run game, take a load off of that in respect to volume, but you also start to set things up. You start to move the pocket, which helps the offensive line. Like, Drake Maye attempted 23 passes in this game, I think it was, and then 5 of them were on moving pockets. So really, all you're doing is you're drop back passing 17 times for the totality of a game. So when you start to look at the numbers,
I think there are a couple screens in there too.
Right. So I'm not trying to discredit the offensive line and what they did in pass protection, because I thought that they were really good in this game. But that's the formula for this Patriots team, because now you're shrinking the amount of exposures to drop back passing for that offensive line. So now Will Campbell has fewer true pass sets. Morgan Moses has fewer true pass sets. Garrett Bradbury and Jared Wilson in the interior have fewer true pass sets. And it just takes away all of the sort of flaring ups that we saw last week, where the pass protection late in the game and against the Raiders gets out of whack. Drake Maye has more sprays because he's throwing the football more. Like, this is the way that they need to play football offensively, and then just be ultra efficient with their passes, which is exactly what they were. And that's the type of offense that they want to build and want to be in. This goes back all the way to January, which I'm probably going to reference a decent amount here today. It was that introductory press conference by Mike Vrabel, where he said he wants to be an efficient passing team, not a high volume passing team, but an efficient passing team. And in week 2, Drake Maye led the entire NFL in expected points added per dropback. He was the most efficient quarterback in the league in week 2. That's what they're looking for. It wasn't that they threw it 50 times. They threw it 23 or 25 times or whatever it was with all the scrambles. And they were just really efficient in those 25 dropbacks. And that's exactly what this team is built for and what they're looking for. With Drake Maye, just to kind of close the loop on him before we move on to some of the other things. Actually, really quickly, I want to just piggyback off your point about Ramondre. One of the things that I always monitor with Ramondre to me is a head of steam running back. Like, he's somebody that needs to be able to get through the first level unblocked or untouched, I should say, so that he can pick up a head of steam. Like, because he breaks tackles when he's moving at a decent pace. He's not in a phone booth jitterbug, I'm going to break tackles when my feet are standing still. He's a guy that once he gets downhill, his contact balance and his ability to avoid tackles in the open field really improves. So one of the things that Next Gen tracks, and I'm stats heavy today, but whatever. One of the things that
Evan's using the nerd stuff.
One of the things that Next Gen tracks is how fast the running back hits the line of scrimmage. Like, what is his speed at the line of scrimmage on his rush attempts? And every week I always go and look in to Ramondre's and see where that was. Where was that number? And usually when he has a bad game, that number is very low. And when he has a good game, that number is higher. And that's exactly how week 1 to week 2 work for the Patriots. So it all starts with getting the guys on the first level blocked for him. Once he gets into the second level with some speed and some momentum, he's able to make people miss. With Drake Maye, I thought what really stood out to me in this game wasn't necessarily the high level plays. There were a couple of those, but it was the lack of negative plays. So he really just didn't make very many mistakes in this game. Never put the ball in harm's way. I had him for 2 minus plays the entire game. I thought that he was extremely sharp with his decision making. He was decisive. He protected the football. He was accurate, which is a big thing coming off of week 1. He seemed to get his mechanics back in order and started to throw the ball more accurately. And then the one play that I think I probably watched about 15 times at this point is obviously the 55-yarder to Ramondre, where he just makes a hell of a play. Great pocket movement. What I loved so much about that play in terms of the pocket movement was not necessarily the slide up in the pocket. It was the fact that he got his feet settled back down after he slid back up in the pocket. So slide up, avoid the pressure, and then get your base back, right? Get your feet settled back down. Instead of trying to throw the ball from, kind of a wonky platform there, he kind of settles his feet back down, gets himself balanced again, and then throws the football. That was just a beautiful play. And then, of course, he runs in for 6 yards and a touchdown at the end of that drive and kind of just puts the team on his back in a time where they really, really needed it. So as much as he wasn't doing a ton of heavy lifting, I thought early on in this game, he delivered on that drive with a lot of heavy lifting. So it kind of outset the fact that they schemed open some stuff early and the plan was really good. And that contributed to a lot of the plays early on. And so basically what I'm saying is he only had one big time throw in this game. Yeah. But I think that that's a really deceiving stat this week because of how he hit all the layups early. And then, of course, he basically led a touchdown drive all by himself in the second half.
He did what he needed to do. I think this is the box score undersells how good he was in this game. I'll give you another example. Everybody's been waiting for him to get that fourth quarter game-winning drive, right? Everybody wants him to get that stat in the box score. Well, they score a go-ahead touchdown with 6 seconds to go in the third. so he doesn't get that one. And then the go-ahead touchdown, the fourth quarter, is on a kick return. So he ultimately didn't get it, but didn't he feel like he kind of carried that? Didn't it feel like he kind of carried them late there? So, yeah, I think this one goes beyond the box score. I just thought, again, it felt like he was in, and players around him were struggling. Travion Henderson was struggling. You didn't get much from the wide receivers. I thought the line was fine, but this felt like him maybe elevating a little bit and playing above what was given him.
Definitely the drive in the third quarter was probably the biggest flash of like Drake Maye elevating that we've seen with him as a pro. Just a great throw to Ramondre. And like I said, they kind of messed up the pass protection on the touchdown run. And that's just the advantage of having a mobile quarterback and a guy like Drake Maye that can create out of structure. Judon, they messed up the mic point and they didn't block Judon coming off the edge. And then Judon comes unblocked off the edge. And for a lot of quarterbacks, that's a sack or a throwaway. That's just a dead play, right? You just can't get anything off. And he just runs away. He just runs away from Judon and runs into the end zone. Really a great drive, great moment for Drake Maye. Did I do enough gushing? Did I
think
present
you gushed, yeah.
enough flowers? Because now we got to talk about some of the stuff that didn't go so well, and not a lot of it on offense. Like I don't really have a lot of gripes with the offense right now, but the Patriots defense is struggling, especially their pass defense. Their run defense has been okay. I thought they cleaned it up in the second half. Shout out to Anthony Jennings, who kind of came in this game in the second half and started to set the edge and started to get the run defense back in order. But pass defense wise, the numbers are what they are. League high 677 pass yards through 2 weeks.
10.3 yards per attempt, league high. They're the only team in the league that's allowed a 300-yard passer in each of the first 2 games.
So they're 31st in the league in passer rating. Like we can just rattle off all these numbers. Yeah. Like they're in the bottom of the league in pretty much every statistical category against the pass. And the big thing to me, just kind of, unpacking it even further with the pass defense, is that this team, and going back to Carlton Davis's introductory press conference, this team wanted to play man-to-man coverage. They wanted Carlton Davis on one side, Christian Gonzalez on the other side, man-to-man across the board, and then let that pass rush eat. Make the quarterback hold the football, jam receivers, throw off the timing, make them hold it, and then you let Milton Williams and Barmore and Landry and those guys get home. They have not been able to play man coverage. They've been one of the worst teams in the league in man coverage as well. They're giving up over 11 yards per pass attempt in man coverage through 2 weeks. So this is not how they were built. This was not the vision in the offseason to play this way. So you can take that 2 ways. You could sit here and take it glass half full and say, just need Gonzo back, right? Just get Zero back, and all of this is going to go back to the way that they envision. The other side of it, though, is that there are guys that they need to rely on in this secondary, with or without Christian Gonzalez, that are getting picked on, mainly the linebackers, Alex Austin, a little bit of the safeties as well. If those middle of the field defenders, particularly, because once Gonzo comes back, Alex Austin will go back to sort of a rotational role and not be asked to cover Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, probably. So that kind of settles that whole thing down. But the linebackers and the safeties and pass coverage, if you're going to be a man-to-man team, they're going to have the backs and tight ends a lot in this season. How do they figure that out? Where's your concern level right now with the pass defense? Because the numbers are not good.
So it's twofold. On one hand, I think getting Christian Gonzalez back is certainly going to help. I mean, they're missing their best player. Yeah, they're missing their best player.
Who happens to be the best cover corner in the league.
Right. You're going to feel that. You're absolutely going to feel that. So I think getting him back will be a chunk of this. But I don't know how Christian Gonzalez coming back helps Robert Spillane play better in coverage, helps Christian Ellis play better in coverage. We cite the yardage, right? The raw yardage of what they're giving up, and it's kind of jarring. It's a lot. 35, I think it's just over 35% of the pass yards they've allowed. You got me doing it now. Based on PFF, has come when targeting a linebacker. And the vast majority of that is on Robert Spillane and Christian Ellis. There's a little bit of Marte Mapu in there, but I'd say 30% of their yards against in coverage has come against, more than 30% has come against just 2 linebackers. So what do you do in that case? Well, when you get Gonzalez back, now you have him and Davis on the outside, so you can, put more help there and put more help towards the middle of the field and linebackers and tight ends. Not every running back, too, is going to be Devon Achane, who obviously has tremendous speed and is a matchup nightmare. It's not to say you won't face other good receiving backs. There's a bit of an exception there, but at a certain point, Robert Spillane's supposed to be a 3-down linebacker. Nobody's asked him to be Fred Warner, but he can't be this much of a liability in coverage that he's getting hunted the way he is. Christian Ellis is a coverage linebacker. That's the guy they brought back. The Raiders were going to sign as an RFA, and they matched. At a certain point, you just might need those guys to play better. And I know that's not the answer anybody wants to hear, and that's not really what we do on this show. We kind of talk about the schematics of this and that. As I noticed, no more Haas behind the logo.
Oh yeah, well, not on this logo. It's on like the it's on like the Apple.
Well, because I saw Brady
Spotify.
talking about it, so I realized that.
Yeah.
I know on the show, we normally get more into the schematics of it. And again, when you get Gonzalez back, I think there'll be more opportunity to give some help. But at a certain point, those guys just have to cover.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I do think that there are things that they could do to help out Robert Spillane. I think they're asking a lot of Robert Spillane right now. I'm glad that you pointed that out with Achane. I know Achane killed them, but Achane kills a lot of people. He's a really good player. And not only is he explosive, but he's quick, and he's just a matchup nightmare for any linebacker. So one of the things that I would just nitpick from the coaching staff standpoint here is that you need to start going into games treating running backs like Achane as a game plan player. Like, you can't just go into that game like you would any other week and just say, the linebackers got him, right? Like that's got to be more of a game plan oriented thing. Whether, that situation where they gave up the 29-yard touchdown before halftime, like maybe that's Kyle Duggar on Achane. Maybe that's another safety if you don't like Kyle Duggar in that spot. Maybe you try Marte Mapu, who I know gave up the 18-yarder, but like is a little bit more athletic and a little bit better in space and has the safety background. You have to treat him as a different kind of cat. Like that's not a just run-of-the-mill running back out of the backfield route. That is a dynamic skill player in space coming out of the backfield there. So the coaching staff needs to help out Robert Spillane a little bit. I don't want to go as too far to say that they're leaving him out to dry because he's got to play better. But they're asking a lot of Robert Spillane, especially in coverage, and I think that they can help him out by taking him out of some of those man coverage situations. It might be a situation where he is a little bit more Juwan Bentley than what we thought. Not exactly the same player, but Juwan Bentley, if he was playing on third down with the Patriots over the years, was in the pass rush. They did not drop Juwan Bentley in coverage too often, especially not man coverage. So you might have to start treating Robert Spillane like a 2-down player, or maybe a 3-down player.
Who are you going to?
Right. That's the big question. Now, Mapu had a little bit of an audition that did not go so hot. He got the pick, but he also gave up the 18-yard completion that could have been a touchdown if the chalk is a little bit further out wide there. If the field's 53.5 yards
it's
wide.
A touchdown in Canada.
If it's a 54, yard wide field, then it's a touchdown. The other answer that I've thought about a little bit, and I know this is maybe a tad outside the box, but would they ever think about playing Kyle Duggar at the second level?
But wasn't the whole thing in camp that Kyle Duggar was struggling in coverage specifically?
But deep coverage. Like I'm talking, like if he's covering a running back out of the backfield,
still man up a running back.
I would like to think so.
All right.
I mean, you got to be. He's on the team.
They got to try something.
Right. So
they've got to try something.
On third down, I do wonder if they play more 3-safety dime. So 6 defensive backs, 3 corners, 3 safeties, and then they have an ability there to use that third safety as a matchup player in man-to-man coverage, whether that's against a pass-catching tight end or a pass-catching running back. And that way there, you're not leaving Spillane and Ellis as the 2 guys on the running backs. The other thing that I thought from this game defensively that stood out to me was just they tried to play a lot of zone coverage early on. They played a ton of cover 2, 2 high safety cover 2 early on in this game. And Vrabel said it after the game. They were conceding the whole shots to Tua. Like if Tua was going to throw the ball outside the numbers on those corner routes, they were just going to give those to him. They were going to concede them. And to Tua's credit, he threw 3 corner hole shots and hit all 3 of them for explosives. 18-yard touchdown to Waddle, and then 2 20-plus yard plays, 1 to Hill and 1 to Waddle. So they were willing to give up those areas of the field, and Tua burned them. Now, the pivot would probably be to play man coverage, right? If he's killing you on the corner routes, well, the obvious answer would be then to pivot to man coverage, but they don't have the ability to pivot to man coverage right now at a successful level. So they ended up only playing 4 snaps of man coverage the entire game, and Tua torched them on all 4 snaps, right? So they were kind of caught between a rock and a hard place coverage-wise of, he's taken what we're giving him in cover 2 and he's hitting those things. So we can't just sit in too high safety cover 2. And then when we play man, we can't man because we can't cover the receivers. And so I know there's a lot of talk early on in this game about the pass rush through the first 3 quarters where they only had a couple pressures through the first 3 quarters. But I'm watching the game and I'm looking at the numbers, and Tua's getting the ball out in less than 2 seconds. At some point in this game, right in the second to third quarter range, I think it was 1.9 seconds per attempt, in terms of the average time that Tua was holding the football. I don't care if you have the best defensive line in football. You're not getting home in 2 seconds. It's just not possible. So as the game wore on, they did have some calls up their sleeve, to Zach Kerr and Mike Vrabel's credit. They pulled out some calls in the fourth quarter that were a little bit different, that forced Tua to hold the ball. And then all of a sudden you start noticing Landry and you start noticing Milton Williams. So this is a coverage problem. This isn't a pass rush problem.
Right.
I actually think their pass rush has been almost near dominant when they've had opportunities to rush the quarterback over the first 2 weeks. What they need to do is cover better. And it's simple to just say Christian Gonzalez is going to come back and he's going to fix everything. But they're still going to have these problems in the middle of the field.
He'll fix some things. He'll fix some things, but it's really that linebacker coverage and covering running backs and covering tight ends where they're still. Gonzalez will help that a little bit because you can maybe attribute more help that way, but it's not going to fix everything.
All right, last thing I want to hit on, and then we can do 3 up, 3 down, and then we'll open the show. It's very fair, and I waited 30 minutes to say this because I didn't want to cloud everything here. It's very fair to point out the fact that the Miami Dolphins are in trouble right now. The Dolphins are not good. They're not good. Offensively, they woke up a little bit in this game. Defensively, they've been a train wreck through 2 weeks. Daniel Jones looked just as good against them in week 1 as Drake Maye did in week 2.
Daniel Jones looked good last week against the Broncos, too, which was one of the best defenses in football last year.
So maybe Indiana Jones is just turning it around. But as much as you have to take it with a grain of salt because of the opponent and what's going on with Miami. And my guy, and I know you're going to take a victory lap when this happens, if they get blown out by Buffalo tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football, I don't know if Mike McDaniel is going to coach the Dolphins the next week.
So Mike McDaniel even get on the plane?
I don't know.
So, and I'll be honest, is the only reason he has a job right now because they're playing on Thursday night?
Could be.
Because you really don't, logistically, it's a nightmare. It sounds weird. Logistically, it's a nightmare to follow a coach.
This is like a
Thursday
mini bye
game.
for them. So if it doesn't go well on Thursday night, they have the weekend off to kind of sit on it and figure it out. A big reason why the Patriots won this game, I don't want to take away anything from the Pats. That's why I waited to say this. But a big reason why the Patriots won this game was because of the Dolphins. The Dolphins defense is wretched. And not only is it wretched, but you can take a victory lap on this. They absolutely self-destructed at the end of this game. And Mike McDaniel self-destructed at the end of this game. Because they had to delay a game because he couldn't get the play call in.
Shocker.
They had a bad substitution or something like that happen that led to another penalty.
Crazy.
They went from, what was it, 1st and 10 from the 26 after the Achane catch to 2nd and 25, all on their own doing. The Patriots took advantage of it though, and that's what I want to harp on here to kind of bring it back to a good thing for the Patriots. What was Mike Vrabel's first step for this football team?
Be good enough to take advantage of bad football. And
Yes.
that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what that win was. And they played some bad football themselves that they have to clean up. But, I texted a buddy of mine after the game. the last 2 years in that sort of game, the Patriots are who the Dolphins were.
Right.
It's, okay, we got a big return, and then we gave one up. We hit a big play, and then we committed these penalties that kind of offset it. So that's not to say they were perfect. They certainly made their share of mistakes. I think they were called for, I know they had 12 accepted penalties. I think the actual number was like 15 or 16. And we talked about this last week in the real or fake thing. I think the penalties are going to be a thing, at least to start the year. More than half of those called penalties were against rookies. Travion Henderson had 3 of them. And on top of rookies, you just got a lot of guys who, even as veterans, are in a new system and are going to have to figure it out. So they had their mistakes. I'm not going to say they didn't have their mistakes, but at the end of the day, they didn't make the last one. They didn't make the biggest one. And that's not going to win you a Super Bowl or anything. Hey, we didn't make the worst mistake in this game. That doesn't make you a Super Bowl contender, but it's the first step. And realistically, this thing's going to be a process. So
it's the first step. And it's been, well, probably since the last time they scored 30 points. So the Bailey Zappi game in 2022, which was a flash in the pan. Let's face it. But they scored 30 in Cleveland that day. The Browns were also a mess, and they took advantage of bad football in Cleveland that day. But I think to consistently go back to when the offense was able to take advantage of bad football, you probably have to go back to Mac's rookie season.
Yeah,
that's honestly how long it's been since they've had a good enough offense that when they get a matchup with a running back on a linebacker down the field, they make the play. Or when they can, pull defenders out of their zone drops on play action, they hit the plays down the field, like the one to Hooper or the touchdown to Hollins. Like those plays, they just haven't been making over the last 2 or 3 years. They were able to take advantage of bad football. And I know that some people get bothered when you look ahead, but we don't play the game, so we can look ahead. It's fine. Trust me. Like they're not looking ahead, but we can. Their schedule, if you just go into some of these games against the Miamis, the Carolinas, the New Orleans, the Clevelands, the Tennessees, if you go into some of these games and you just don't stink as bad as the other team, that you're going to see some wins start to pile up for this team. Like that is set up for them.
It's taking advantage of bad football.
To let the other team out suck you. That's it.
Yeah.
And they can go into 5, 6, 7 of these games, I would say. And we might be we'll see what happens with the Bengals without Joe Burrow. That's another game now. In November, the Patriots probably aren't going to have to face Joe Burrow when they play the Bengals. It's Cleveland, it's Tennessee, it's New Orleans, it's Carolina. Who the heck knows what's going to happen with the Jets between now and the time the Patriots play them? The Giants, is that going to be Jackson Dart in that game? Is that going to be
Russell Wilson? Played okay this week, but
there's probably 7 or 8 games on their schedule that if at the bare minimum they take that first step this year with Mike Vrabel of taking advantage of bad football, where they could go realistically 5-2, 6-1 in that stretch of games. And that's a great first step for this team. So there you go. I waxed poetic. I gave them their flowers.
Very nice.
Good game. Thank you. 3 up, 3 down, and then we're going to move on. We're going to talk some Steelers and take your calls and emails. Number 1 up, is it both Drake Maye for both of us here? The number 1 up?
Yeah.
Drake Maye. I had him, like I said, 11 plus 2 minuses. Best game as a pro. No doubt about it. Is there anything else you want to add to Drake?
I think we said all. He was really good.
Number 2.
Ramondre Stevenson.
We got the same list.
Kind of already talked about it. His ability to make plays as a runner and as a passer and his ability to create hidden yardage and break tackles and things like that shows you what he can be when he's right. Now, don't run him into the ground like you have the last few years, because we see he can't be this player all year when he's getting 300 touches. You got to keep Travion Henderson involved. We'll get to Travion Henderson, but when he's right, he can be a weapon for the offense.
So Ramondre, of course, I just lost my doc here. Ramondre, 21-yard run, 55-yard catch, and then he had that 14-yard screen on a 3rd down backed up. That was a sneaky big play in this game. Made a guy miss. Like had no business getting the sticks in that play, and he did. Really sneaky game. I don't know if they just called the screens at the right time or if Drake was checking into the screens, but they caught Miami in 2 blitzes on screens. One was a 15-yard reception by Travion Henderson, and one was a 14-yard 3rd down and 12 where Ramondre gained 14 yards, where they brought the house to that side of the field. They overloaded the side of the field, and the Patriots just snuck Ramondre right behind the blitz on a screen. So whether it was a well-timed call by Josh McDaniels or a great check by Drake Maye, either way, like that's really good offense and good news for them. So I also had Ramondre in this game. I thought he was fantastic. Who's number 3?
Number 3. So actually had 4 ups. Number 3, Josh McDaniels. I just like the way everything you said off the top. I like the way that they adjusted. I like the changes they made from week to week. I think those really helped. He deserves credit for this game, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 3 on my list, the rookies on the left side of the offensive line.
Yeah, they're both really good.
Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, both pitch shutouts. Now, like I said earlier, they really only had like 17 or so true drop back pass sets. So it wasn't a ton of volume. I would also put out there, Bradley Chubb right now is just not the same guy. Coming off this knee injury, he's compromised. But at the same time, I thought Will Campbell was terrific in this game. I mean, he was in complete control of that matchup in pass pro. He had 3 really dominant standout run blocks in this game. One of them came on the 15-yarder to Gibson on the wham scheme, where he got up to the second level and turned the guy out. He was terrific throughout this entire game and just kind of dominated Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb did not do anything of note. Jared Wilson also really good. Saw a little bit of Zach Sealer in this game, who's an underrated player on the interior there for the Dolphins, and was able to hold up really well. Had a really good block on the 2-point conversion. Brought Ramondre into the end zone on that play. But like I said in the beginning of the show, I'm not going to take any victory laps yet on Will Campbell. I'm not declaring it a win just yet. But kid looks like he can play. There are going to be some ups and downs. There's going to be some bumps in the road. But I think what we're seeing through 2 weeks is that I don't think the arm length thing and the physical limitations are going to be why this kid fails. I really don't. I think he's plenty good enough to overcome that. Is he going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But I think through 2 weeks and through training camp, I can confidently say that that's not going to be why. If it goes south for him, it's not going to be the arm.
It was funny. I said on the radio last night, if everybody would have just gotten past the arms for 5 minutes in the spring, I would have told you, and I think I mentioned it very briefly on this show. I don't know how many shows we even got to it. My biggest concern with Will Campbell was not the arm length.
Yeah.
It was that he developed a little bit of a penalty problem last year at LSU. He was very good the first 2 years. And then last year, I think he had 7 penalties. He had more last year than he did the first 2 years combined. So the penalties still have to come down. He had another false start in this game. I know Vrabel said he didn't see him move. There might be a little bit of a flinch there, but
I thought he moved.
I thought so too. But I mean, if he's in his second game in the NFL, like the penalties or something.
First game on the road.
That's first game on the road. That's very coachable. And first game on the road, it's interesting. Andrews mentioned he noticed they were going back and forth between a verbal count and a head bob count. So it was tough in that regard. But if the penalties come down, I mean, where he's at as a blocker, he's a starting caliber left tackle. He's a solid starting caliber left tackle right now through 2 games. Like you said earlier, I'm not going to take the whole victory lap on that. But if this is an indication of who he's going to be, I think you feel pretty good about that. Definitely. As long as he kind of trims down the penalties. That's the one thing you're looking at.
This is exactly what they were
by the
hoping.
way, you talked about him, really winning against Bradley Chubb. He's finishing against Bradley Chubb. I mean, he put him on the ground a few times.
He got his hands on him and just ended the reps. Now, Bradley Chubb is not who he once was. I think that has to be said. I'm really interested this week. So I don't think, not to get too much into the Steelers right away, but I don't think Alex Highsmith's going to play in this game. He had a high ankle sprain in the game last week.
Tomlin said he's not.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be out. Nick Herbig, their third pass rusher there, Watt, Highsmith, Herbig, is sneaky good. He's a really good speed rusher, and he's kind of the type of guy that I was a little bit concerned about with Will Campbell, where if you get those guys that can really threaten the corner off the snap, and Will Campbell overcommits, that's when he gets beat to the inside. That's when that inside move was getting him in college. So I'm interested to see how he looks. He's going to face better guys, and I think what's been really nice for the Patriots here is all the good rushers have been rushing over the right tackle for the first 2 weeks, and will next week too with TJ Watt. So Max Crosby's a right tackle guy. Jalen Phillips is a right tackle guy. and now TJ
TJ
Watt
Watt,
is
yeah.
a right tackle guy. So they haven't really had like the baptism of by fire yet for Will Campbell, which I think is a good thing in some ways to kind of give him some confidence and get him into the league a little bit before we get to that point. You had 4, I had 4 as well. Who was your 4th?
Milton Williams. I know the
We had
defense
the same list,
as
yeah.
a whole. All right. No, you had the lineman. I had Josh McDaniel.
Oh, right.
I should have had the lineman on though. They were good. As much as the defense struggled, the sack at the end of the game's great. I don't know. Do you call that beating a double team? He
Yes.
almost got around so quickly before the second guy could even get there.
Yep.
Like it was supposed to be a double team, but it wasn't because he got off the ball so quick that the center Aaron Brewer couldn't get over after he snapped the ball. How about his other sack though? And it was on a 3rd down late in the game, 3rd and short. And he chases, it's not a real sack in the sense that he tackles the quarterback. He chases Tua all the way to the sideline, forces him out of bounds, doesn't even give him a chance to throw the ball away. Tua has to run out of bounds for a loss, which is very rare to see quarterbacks do. I know Drake Maye did it last week. It's not something you want to be doing as a quarterback. For defensive tackle, like Tua's athletic. Tua's not a statue. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he's not a statue. For defensive tackle to chase the quarterback all the way to the sideline in a game in Miami, like late in that game when that's just terrific motor, terrific athleticism, terrific conditioning. The guy's shown up. The guy's shown up as a big-time player through 2 weeks. He's been awesome.
He's been a man possessed.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely unreal through 2 weeks. There's 2 things that you worry about with guys like Milton Williams. One, of course, is he a product of the Philly defensive line? Is he the Adelius Thomas of the Eagles defense, where he's got Jalen Carter, he's got Jordan Davis, he's got the guys on the outside, and there were concerns when they signed him. I was concerned about it a little bit, that he was just kind of a product of that system and that defensive line. The other thing that you worry about with guys like Milton Williams is when you sign for $100 million, like, is it going to mean as much to you after the contract? Are you still going to play with that kind of effort and that kind of motor? Both check and check, like, so far, right? Like,
Yeah.
earn the check. I mean, he's playing with his hair on fire. The one thing I texted you about on Monday is, like, can he keep this up? Can he play at this type of level in terms of effort for 17 games? Because this is a crazy start for Milton Williams. He has 10 pressures through 2 weeks. He's second in the league in pass rush win rate among defensive tackles.
He's like 30%, right?
Yeah, he's been one of the best defensive tackles in football through 2 weeks. And I would say that the game sealing sack, they slide the 3-man protection towards him and Harold Landry, and then they are man-to-man to the backside. So it's, man-to-man, one-on-one on the backside, and they actually chip on the left side to kind of help out the tackle there. And then they 3-man slide it to 2 people on the other side. If you're 3-man sliding to 2 people, you're supposed to be able to block it, right? You have 3-on-2 for the offensive line. And Milton Williams was just off the ball so quickly and through the double team so fast that they couldn't even block him, even with 2 guys on 1 player. So just took over. Just a absolute game takeover by Milton Williams. I hope he can do it for 17 games. I hope we don't see this, the gas tank start to run empty.
Right.
I compared it to kind of like Judon. Remember, Judon would kind of tail off towards the end of the season. I will get to the downs here in a second, but nothing says football season like firing up the grill in the backyard and having a cookout. And the best cookouts have the best looking lawns, the lawns that are cut with Aaron's mowers. Aaron's, the official lawn mower of New England Patriots, is proud to help Patriots fans get back to football. Visit www.aarons.com to find your Aaron's, okay? And football fans know that tradition matters, turning moments together into something truly epic. They're what inspire us to make our masa and Tostitos the traditional way. Starting with whole corn kernels, no artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives, all to give you that perfect crunch. Discover your next tradition this football season. Head to the store, grab your Tostitos team bag, and scan the code for a chance to score an epic experience with the Patriots. Tostitos, tradition matters. Let's move to the downs. We've been pretty positive for the first 50 minutes, but there's certainly some downs. Who's your number 1 down here?
Number 1 down. I don't do them in order. I just do them in the order they come to my head. All right, I'll try to sort it. Robert Spillane.
Yeah.
Robert Spillane, and a lot of what we talked about, the missed tackle. The missed tackles is the bigger thing. Like, if they need to maybe turn somewhere else in coverage, it's not ideal, but I get it. Guy's supposed to be a tackling machine. I think he's missed more has he missed more tackles than he's made or something like that? Like,
yes.
got to be finishing the tackles. So you have me using the stats. His ADOT is 4 yards per target, average depth of target. He's allowing 11 yards per completion, or 11 yards per attempt. So even if he is going to allow these completions, like, you got to get the guy down at the spot. And if there's not as much of a yak opportunity, okay, then maybe teams don't target you as much. The tackling, to me, is a bigger issue than the coverage with him.
So 5 missed tackles for Robert Spillane, who was also my number one down. 8 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown into his coverage. Of course, the touchdown was the 29-yarder by Achane right before halftime. The one thing I'll say for Robert Spillane that gives me a slight glimmer of hope is that he's there. He's just not getting the guys on the ground. So he's been a good tackler throughout his career. He's already missed, I believe, as many tackles in 2 games as he missed all of last year. So for whatever reason, he's not tackling well right now. If he gets that in order, I think the good news is that it's not that he's not getting to the spots. He's just not getting the ball carrier on the ground. So if you start to tackle a little bit better, maybe this goes the other way and starts to improve quickly here for Robert Spillane, but he just hasn't been good enough. They don't need him to be, he doesn't have to be like prime Ray Lewis, right? But they just need him to be better than this. So Robert Spillane, the number one down. Who's number 2 on your list?
Travion Henderson. 3 holding penalties, 2 on offense, 1 on special teams. Got blown up a couple times in pass protection. It's going to make it hard to put you got to be able to pass block if you're going to be out there in the situations they want him in. And it's not as simple as why don't you just run him in the route every time. There's going to be times you need to check and keep the extra protector in, and he's going to have to be able to hold up in that regard. So a down week for him. You hope it improves. You hope it doesn't cut into his playing time too much, but the pass protection issues were real for him in this game.
So I'll get to him in a second. My number 2 down was Alex Austin, who I'm just kind of disappointed in what the performance, because for the first 2 weeks, I thought he had a really good training camp. I thought he had a really good summer. I thought he was good in the joint practices against other teams, and he just hasn't been good to start the season. Gave up 6 catches for 98 yards and a touchdown. Of course, the Waddle touchdown with him in coverage. I was expecting a little bit better from Alex Austin. Now, is he punching above his weight like a little bit? Like, he's probably not there yet to cover the number 1 receiver on the other team, whether that's Waddle or Hill, whichever one you want to pick. He's just not there yet. But even the big catch he gave up to Hill, the 47-yarder, he's just got to play the ball better in the air. Like, he's got the deep third.
Yeah.
You can't get beat over the top, first of all, in cover 3 when you have the deep third. He gets run by Tyreek Hill, and then it's really underthrown, but he's so far behind that he's playing catch up, and so then he can't recover to the underthrown pass. It just wasn't a good game for Alex Austin. And if Christian Gonzalez, we're going to find out here in a couple of hours if he's going to be on the practice field today on Wednesday. If Christian Gonzalez continues to be out, like, they need Alex Austin to be better than what he was on Sunday. So Alex Austin was number 2 for me. Who's number 3 for you?
Part of me with Alex Austin, though, just real quick, like,
Yes.
he's a better player than he looked in that game. That's a bad matchup for him. He's not a speed corner. He's a guy you're putting
That's
up
fair.
against a big, physical jump ball receiver, and the Dolphins don't have that guy. So that's one where if Gonzalez is back, I don't think you see Alex Austin in a lot of the positions that he was in. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong to put him on the downs. That game, I was nervous about him going into that game. That's a tough matchup spot for him against those Dolphins kinds of receivers.
Just to further that point too, this is what such a massive part of the trickle-down effect of Christian Gonzalez.
Right.
Because so if Christian Gonzalez is healthy for this game, then maybe you can use Alex Austin in more of a nickel role.
Yeah.
And now maybe he has Achane coming out of the
Right,
backfield,
because you're going to have
right?
Gonzalez and probably, honestly, Marcus Jones on the 2 top receivers. Marcus Jones was solid in this game, but the problem was whoever Marcus Jones was covering, whether it was Waddle or Hill, they were just going to the other guy and picking on Alex Austin. Whereas if you have Marcus Jones and Christian Gonzalez, your 2 speed corners on their 2 speed receivers, it's a lot easier. So obviously they didn't have them. That's revisionist history, but I think that makes a change.
Who's number 3?
Number 3 for me, just outside of Antonio Gibson, the special teams. You have.
I'm smiling because I actually had special teams for once. But
so I feel wrong putting special teams with a kickoff return touchdown.
Nope.
And I could have maybe nitpicked and done 5 guys and done like Andy Borgalis and Schooler missed a tackle and Charles Woods missed a tackle. And you know what? I think it's easier just Antonio Gibson and Mac Hollins set a really good block on that kick return touchdown. So take them out of this. but Andy Borregales misses 2 extra points. Credit to him. He comes back. He hits the 53-yarder. Absolute stones from the kid to do that. But then he puts the ensuing kickoff short of the landing zone, gives the Dolphins a short field.
Right.
Like, that's not good. Bryce Behringer was really good. He had 2 70-yard punts, but did he outkick his coverage? I'll be interested to hear if Jeremy Springer has anything to say about that, because one of them
I considered that as well.
is a 20-yard return, which on a 70-yard punt, you'll still take that. But I almost feel like they used that return when Behringer hits another insane punt to come back the next rep, and then they have the touchdown. And although Charles Wood had him wrapped up at one point, and Brendan Schooler's not a guy that should be missing tackles, just giving his standing. So it was, even with the kick return touchdown overall, and he had numbers of penalties on special teams, overall a down game for special teams, even with the kick return touchdown.
So, I usually leave the special teams for you. So I considered Morgan Moses, but he's playing on a bad tire, so I let that one go.
I mean, 3 false starts is rough.
I considered Morgan Moses. It wasn't great, but he's hurt. He's playing through injury.
Yeah.
I considered Travion Henderson for the same reasons that you laid out, but he had the wheel route. That was a nice play. He had the screen. It was a rookie in his second NFL game, first road game in the NFL.
I just think I more had him on there because
I agree with your analysis.
Let me just add this. We know in the past, and look, this was a few years ago and under a different head coach, under Bill, but we've seen how finicky Josh can be with rookie running backs.
Sure.
And you don't necessarily get a lot of chances, and we've seen guys screw up and they essentially go missing for a few weeks. And
right.
Now, I don't know that the Patriots have the luxury to do that. I don't know if they have the depth or the speed on offense, the depth at running back or the speed on offense to do that. So maybe that won't be the case for Henderson. But if we're just going to use historical context, you're a rookie running back, you have a game like that under Josh McDaniels, we might not see you for a month. I don't think that's going to be what happens with Henderson, but
it's a fair point.
You have the thought.
I would think with Henderson, what we might see, and this would probably drive fans just as nuts, is like a package of plays, because his speed is so important to the offense as a whole that he might just have a package of kind of game plan, schemed up plays that he's involved in instead of just kind of throwing him out there in the base offense. I considered Christian Ellis, who I thought was just as bad as Robert Spillane in this game.
Yeah, I probably should have just said linebackers. It was a lot of the same for him.
But I thought Robert Spillane's just such an important piece for them that I wanted to talk about him. And I also considered Craig Woodson, who I thought just struggled in this game in deep coverage. But with Woodson, same kind of thing as Henderson's second career game.
You didn't want to put the rookies on the downs.
I didn't want to put the rookies on the downs, and it was also the first time that he was going up, as things are falling in the studio. It was the first time that he was going up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And like, those are the two of the best deep threats that you're going to face all season long. So I actually think this will be a good learning experience for Craig Woodson of how to handle that kind of speed in an NFL game. So I considered all those people for my third down. But I settled on special teams.
Yeah.
Because this is going to annoy the crap out of me if their special teams is this bad all season long. 4 penalties on special teams. Borregales had the 2 missed extra points. And the 74-yard punt return, guys, it just can't happen. Like, this team can't afford those types of things. And they put too much into special teams in terms of the roster, in terms of the coaching staff. They have too many cooks in that kitchen to be giving up back-breaking 74-yard punt returns. It just can't happen. And I'm not trying to single out just Brandon Schooler, but you have an all-pro on special teams covering the punt. You have Jeremy Springer, who I think is a good coach, and you also have Tom Quinn, who's a really good special teams coach as well. They just have too much invested in that phase of the game. It has to be a strength of the team.
Yeah.
And they can't give up plays like that. You can't give up 74-yard touchdowns. So through 2 weeks, they are 28th in the league in PFF grade on special teams, and they are 29th in the league in DVOA on special teams. They are a bottom 5 special teams in the NFL. Now, kicking has a big part of that. When your field goal kicker is missing kicks, that's going to knock you down. But their coverage unit also hasn't been good enough. So the special teams needs to be better. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk some Steelers. We're going to talk your phones and take your phones and phone calls and emails. We'll be right back as I stumble out of the break here.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/one-rate for details. Exclusions apply.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Catch 22. Catch 22.
We're back right here, and right before we get to your lovely calls and emails, Brunt Workwear makes work boots and apparel that are built for the job site and is an official sponsor of the New England Patriots and the Gillette Stadium Field Crew. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and named after the real workers in the trades that helped design it. You can even try Brunt out on the job, and if it doesn't blow you away, they let you send it back. Save $10 on your first order at bruntworkwear.com/Patriots or with coupon code PATS. All right, let's get to these phones. Thanks for waiting. Patty is in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
Hey, what's going on today, guys?
Hey.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts on a couple things. The first thing, Drake Maye was absolutely phenomenal, I thought, on Sunday. This was the first game. Not only did I call him the post-game show and say I thought he played his best NFL game, this was the first time I think we might have seen since 2020, the opener, when Cam was our quarterback, his first year against the Dolphins, where the quarterback actually put the team on his back and carried him to a victory, at least through the first three quarters until that big kickoff return. Wanted to get your thoughts on that. And I wrote in yesterday, I know it was late because I didn't get to it on PU, but are either of you guys concerned about, it seems like 3 out of their 4 false starts on offense on Sunday were caused by shifting, and how did how does Vrabel get that out of their system? And I'll take it off there, guys.
Yeah, Patty, thanks for the call. It's a good point. So the Dolphins defensive line was shifting right before the snap to try to throw off the Patriots, and they did get Morgan Moses especially a couple of times to jump just by shifting the offensive line. And then there was another procedural penalty that they had where they had 2 guys going in motion at once. I think it was Hollins and Henry were both in motion, and they got called for that as well. So a lot of those things are obviously just locking in and focusing and not jumping. But some of it also too is cadence and honestly, the one maybe nitpick with Drake in this game is that some of that stuff is on Drake Maye. It's his job to make sure that everybody is settled in and is on their P's and Q's and has a snap count ready, and the cadence that he comes to the line with, and sort of the flow that he hikes the ball at. I know it sounds like a little bit elementary or just kind of crazy, but it's honestly a huge part of how they start every single play is his cadence. So I do think that that's something that they need to improve on. What did he said something about special
Drake Maye taking the game over, which we kind of talked about at the beginning. He's He put them on his back. He led them in that game. He truly led them and elevated in that game.
All right. Will is in Cranston. What's up, Will?
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Good.
Hey,
A couple things I wanted to touch on today. I'm actually really excited to test our defense this week against Pittsburgh's offense. I think that Marcus Jones will match up well against Calvin Austin, and I think that Carlton Davis will match up pretty well against DK, so I'm pretty excited to watch those. Just the other question that I had for you guys was, I think Travion Henderson will be a better matchup this week than he was last week. Also, how do you think we can stop the pressure from Pittsburgh, considering TJ Watt and everybody? I know they're a very blitz-happy defense, so I would just like to see what you guys' thoughts are with our new offensive line. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for the call. That pretty much hits all of the notes, I would say, about the Steelers matchup.
Yeah.
So I think the one thing I would say with the Steelers that I was going to get to once we kind of started to look at them a little bit closer here in the second hour is I'm cautiously optimistic about this game because they have a ton of familiarity with the Steelers coaching staff. Arthur Smith was Mike Vrabel's offensive coordinator in Tennessee. And whether it was the Brady years, I remember that Thursday night Bailey Zappi game in Pittsburgh. Mac Jones was throwing dimes to Nelson Aguilar in Pittsburgh in 2022 with Matt Patricia calling plays. They've always seemed to have a good feel for the Steelers defense and for Mike Tomlin's system. And now Josh McDaniels is back to kind of hit the notes that they always used to hit over the years and against that Steelers defense. So the familiarity with the coaching staff is something that I think was a big factor in week one. And I know Patrick Graham was McDaniels' D coordinator, and he probably should have had some familiarity, but Pete Carroll's influence on the Raiders defense was pretty substantial. And I don't know if they knew exactly like whose defense was the Raiders really going to be. Were they going to be a Patrick Graham defense or were they going to be a Pete Carroll defense? Having week to week as we go here with the veteran staff that they do have, if Vrabel knows the guy or if McDaniels knows the guy or they both know guys, like that's a huge advantage to me about some of the things that the caller brought up there of, how are they going to attack the Steelers defense? How are they going to block it? How are they going to handle Arthur Smith's offense and Aaron Rodgers on the other side? When you have that institutional knowledge, I don't think that's insignificant. I think that that's a pretty big advantage for them in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, Vrabel helped game plan for them twice last year in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good point as well. All right, we'll get to more of the Steelers though. Those are good questions, but I want to hold off on that just for a second. Connor is in New Hampshire. What's up, Connor?
Hey guys, been listening since the CNLS days. Sorry,
love it.
But I wanted to know, you kind of talked about the changes the offense made from week 1 to 2. I'm wondering about kind of the changes, especially in the blitz the defense made, and if that's something will be a lower blitzing team moving forward, or if that had more to do with a different play caller on defense.
Yeah, Connor, thanks for the call. So I it's a good point. We kind of I waxed poetic about all the good things that they did on offense, but they also went in a totally different direction on defense. After blitzing the heck out of Geno Smith in week 1, they only blitzed 201 time this entire game. I don't think that that's about play caller, difference in play callers or anything like that. That's a game plan thing. Like that's a matchup thing. When you have speed at the skill positions and a really quick trigger in a quarterback like Tua, I think blitzing the Miami Dolphins is not the way to go. Like you are asking for big explosives. And as much as I picked on the pass defense earlier on in the show, they did only give up 4 explosives in this game to Miami. They gave up 9 of them in week 1. They only gave up 4 in week 2. So they did a better job of limiting explosive plays. Now, they didn't limit anything else. Like they didn't do a great job overall, but they did a better job of limiting explosive plays. So what it tells me about the difference between the defensive play calling from week 1 to week 2 is that they're just going to be a game plan defense. Like some weeks they're going to think that blitzing is going to be the best thing for them. And then some weeks they're going to think playing coverage is going to be the best thing for them. So how, do you agree with that, or what do you kind of see with those couple things?
Yeah, I think that could be as much game plan or more game plan based than it is having a different defensive play call. Like you said, it didn't make sense to blitz Miami. I don't think it makes sense to blitz this Steelers team a ton at least initially, probably more than they blitzed Miami, but not the 50% blitz rate they had against the Raiders. For me, it's can you get pressure with 4 on Aaron Rodgers, and because you want as many guys in coverage and to not, especially if Gonzalez isn't out there, so he has less obvious windows to throw into because you're not going to fool Aaron Rodgers. But if you can't get pressure with 4, then maybe you have to start sending the blitz because you do need to get pressure on him. You cannot give him all day.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, but let's get through these calls first. Francisco is in North Carolina. What's up, Francisco?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, all right. So I've got a couple questions. So my first question starts off with so I feel like we should not necessarily add a veteran presence, but I feel like it wouldn't hurt to help with adding a veteran presence in the DB room, like a Stephon Gilmore out there. I feel like it'd be beneficial for everybody to learn from somebody who's already done it at a high level. And then second question is, yesterday's PU, Fred asked you where the origin of why it's called the Yankee concept. I was just wondering if you looked into that, and I'll take it off there. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Francisco. Thanks for the call. I did not look into that, and this is one of my favorite Fredisms that he likes to put me on the spot.
Yeah.
You know that these concepts and things like that are called things for ridiculous reasons.
Yeah.
So the Steelers in the first 2 weeks of the season, they each game they got beat on an explosive touchdown on the Yankee concept, deep post with the deep over route underneath it, and the Jets and the Seahawks both hit touchdowns on the same exact play from about the same field position as well. And so yesterday on PU, I called it the Yankee concept because that's what it's most normally that's like sort of the general terminology for it, and I had no idea why it was called that, and so that was that.
I gotcha.
I did not really understand. I just wanted to tell everybody because I'm sure a lot of people had no idea what he was talking about. Sean is in Vancouver. What's
just
up,
to go
Sean?
back, real quick.
1 second, Sean.
On the Gilmore thing, because
Yes.
I've gotten asked this a lot, should the Patriots sign Stephon Gilmore? I guess adding a veteran presence, I don't know. I think everybody needs to calm down for a little bit until Christian Gonzalez comes back. I like Stephon Gilmore.
And isn't Carlton Davis supposed to be the veteran presence? Like they already have.
So there's that, and also between Gonzalez, Gilmore, and Davis, none of those guys play in the slot.
Right.
I don't think you're moving any of them to safety. Is Gilmore going to come here and just essentially sit on the bench?
Sure.
Or how's it going to go over with Carlton Davis if he gets benched? And you're obviously not benching Gilmore once he's healthy, Gonzalez once he's healthy. So unless Gonzalez is going to miss like a significant amount of time, which as of right now is not expected to be the case as far as we know, you're signing Stephon Gilmore because his name's Stephon Gilmore. I don't think you're signing him for much more than that. And, if they're going to add a corner, maybe add a slot corner, get some depth beyond Marcus Jones, but I don't think Stephon Gilmore is coming here to play a rotational role on a team that may or may not make the playoffs.
All right, Sean, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, no problem. I really hope Gonzo is back this week. That'd be great. Now, last year, one of the criticisms, and there's been many, that Patriots weren't really doing was allowing Drake Maye to do a quarterback sneak. We finally saw that in Miami. The other thing I'd like to find out or see is if Drake Maye will do a design run. Well, you think that will be coming maybe against Pittsburgh or in the near future? I'll leave you on that. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. So they did run a couple of them against the Raiders in week 1, and they ran a zone read on 3rd and short on Sunday against the Dolphins that Ramondre picked it up. The one thing that I would say about the design quarterback runs, me, I have no fear about him getting hurt. That's not on my why I'm not doing it. He needs to improve though a little bit and holding the mesh a little bit longer and really trying to get that defensive end to bite on the fake or on the read point, the mesh point. It's not something that Drake is great at yet. And that's like a live in-game feel thing. You have to get better at it with reps. You're not going to be Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels at the mesh point right away. You have to do it over and over again. And so I think he needs to be a little bit better at those. The rule of thumb with those types of plays is the read defender can't make the tackle.
Right.
So that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to put the read defender, the unblocked defender that's reading the mesh out. You're trying to put him in conflict, and then you're trying to make him wrong, no matter what he does. If he crashes down to the ball carrier, to the back, then you take it off the edge as the quarterback. If he stays out and sets the edge of the defense, you hand it to the back. And you just want to make him wrong and make sure that the read defender doesn't make the tackle. If you do that, then you've done your job as the quarterback. So on the Ramondre 3rd and short one, Bradley Chubb should have made the tackle in the backfield, and Ramondre juked him in the backfield and got the first down. So that wasn't the best mesh point mechanics. So they have to do a little bit better job with that. They tried to bring Hunter Henry across the formation to try to block Chubb as well, and he like ran into, I can't remember exactly who it was. He collided with somebody on the way. Like, it was just kind of a mess of a play, and Ramondre actually bailed them out from what probably should have been a 2-yard loss in the backfield and just made a really good run. So another, he was on our ups, but another one to credit Ramondre with. Before we get back to more of these calls and emails, I do want to talk a little bit about the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, because I think a caller earlier kind of brought it up, and you were talking a little bit about what to do against Aaron Rodgers. So watching Rodgers, I watched both games so far from Pittsburgh over the last couple of days, and Rodgers, I'm telling you on the way over here, I'm trying to come up with the best analogy for this. I don't know if I have yet, but Rodgers can still throw the ball. He's still got a cannon. He can still sling it. There's no dip or drop off, I would say, whatsoever in terms of his arm talent. His athleticism and his mobility is declining fast. He is immobile at this point. His pressure to sack rate's the 5th highest in the league. This is Aaron Rodgers, like a guy that used to dance out of pressure and get out of sacks all the time earlier on in his career. So the best comp that I've come up with it is like late in a career of like a great shooter, like a Ray Allen, where all he can do is stand in the corner and shoot threes, but he's so good at standing in the corner and shooting threes, it adds like 5 years to his NBA career. Like, this is like Miami Heat Ray Allen right now for Aaron Rodgers, where if you keep him clean in the pocket and he's just able to sit there and just drop dimes left and right, he can still do that with the best of them. The second he sees pressure, the second that he has to avoid sacks, he can't do it. So what's been the kryptonite for the Steelers for the first couple weeks has been man coverage, because you don't have to account for the quarterback because he can't run. So you just keep him in the pocket, you play man-to-man bump and run on the outside and make him hold the football. And then just hope that the pass rush gets there, and the pass rush is going to get there and suffocate him at some point. So that's been the blueprint that the Jets finally got to in that game a little bit. And then, of course, the Seahawks held them to 17 points, held them in check in week 2. But we broke down at the top of the show that the Patriots have had a lot of issues in man-to-man coverage. So it's kind of like, a weakness on weakness sort of thing right now. Now, if they get Gonzo back, that changes. But the caller earlier said something that I agree with. Carlton Davis on DK.
Yeah.
Marcus Jones on Calvin Austin. They do like to run a lot of 2 tight ends. A ton, like 50% of the time they have 2 tight ends on the field. So the tight ends, and then Jalen Warren is a pretty good pass catching back, at like a 60+ yard catch and run in the game the other day against Seattle. So those are the parts that you kind of worry about, but they're 2 primary receivers, DK and Calvin Austin. I don't hate how you match up against those 2 guys if you want to play man-to-man.
Yeah, I don't either. I agree with a lot of that. The other thing I'm interested in this matchup, and ESPN put a stat up this morning. Let me make sure I can find it here. We saw against the Dolphins, and this was something I was big on after that game, the Patriots didn't run the ball to the right side. And I think it made them predictable, and I think it really hurt their ability to run the ball. So ESPN had this morning. There are 2 games this year. Teams are running for 6 yards per carry, running away from TJ Watt, and 2.5 yards per carry running towards TJ Watt.
Get ready.
So
get ready for another wonky.
Is it going to be a lopsided? I don't want to see him do it. You got to run at him at least a little bit to upset his timing and see what you can get over there. And
they've gotten gashed on the ground, though.
They have gotten gashed on the ground. So if you can do it running off the left side, you do it running off the left side. But I would hope they don't handcuff themselves in the run game like they did against the Raiders.
Yeah, it's interesting because they've gotten gashed on the ground for the most part. Those Zach Charbonnet kind of struggled in his carries, but Kenneth Walker averaged 8 yards a carry. So this might be one of those games, again, not to pick on Ramondre, but isn't Ramondre is a little bit more Zach Charbonnet than he is Kenneth Walker. And Zach Charbonnet's issue is they were trying to run off tackle, and he just doesn't have the speed to get out there. So maybe this could be a bigger Gibson-Henderson game. Well, try to get that speed and get to the edge away from TJ Watt, because that's exactly what the Seahawks did. And they ran the ball effectively, and then they play action effectively.
Along those lines, too, though, to go back to the Jets game, and obviously the Jets are running a pretty unique game plan at this point, but Justin Fields had a good game on the ground. So to what you were talking about the Drake Maye designed runs, do you maybe bring some of that back?
You could. Justin Fields did a good job with that in week 1, like you said. They also ran like a naked boot down by the goal line where he just like waltzed in for a touchdown. So the boots and some of the misdirection.
Yeah. I mean, he ran even with he ran for 4 yards a carry. Like that's
I just watching the Seahawks tape. They ran outside zone duo, and they ran one play of wide zone lead with the fullback. Right, so still outside zone blocking up front, but the fullback is on the field.
Well, you see what the fullback did to the Steelers last week? You see Robbie Oots last week?
So the fullback, was that Robbie Oots, the Seahawks fullback?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was clearing guys out.
Yeah, so he absolutely pancaked the dude on like a pretty big run for Kenneth
wasn't there
Walker.
one? He pancakes one linebacker into another linebacker. He takes two guys out at once.
Yeah, so the fullback.
You know that was Robbie Oots? He was.
I didn't know that. See, I wasn't.
He's
I
been
wasn't
good there.
studying the Seahawks.
He's
I was,
been good
you
there.
know.
But you're watching you were watching the Steelers defense, weren't you?
Yeah, but I was watching the all 22.
But you never look. Oh, this guy's made some plays. Who is that?
No.
All right, well, maybe you should.
Yeah, maybe I should. You're right. So that's how they ran it. I agree with you. The Jets were a little bit more option heavy with Justin Fields. I expect the Patriots to try to run it traditionally down their throats. That's what I would expect. But you could be right. It could be more of the option stuff, especially if Hayward.
It doesn't have to be more of that, but just mixing it in.
Well, Hayward and Watt, if they start to take over the traditional run game, then they might need to do some more deception and more trickery there. The Steelers, they play a lot more man coverage. I know a lot of people think of the Steelers and they think of cover 3 and Blitzburg and like all that kind of stuff. They've transitioned to a lot more man coverage. They're 41% man coverage through 2 weeks. They blitz a lot. They're top 5 in the league in blitz rate. So a lot of their coverages are single high safety man coverage. And they have Ramsey and Darius Slay on the outside. Ramsey made a really good play on his pick last week, undercutting out. But other than that, he kind of got torched in that game. Gave up over 100 yards in coverage. And the week before, Darius Slay kind of struggled. So you're going to have some single coverage opportunities. You're going to be able to attack those two guys. They're going to leave those two guys on islands over the top. And if you can get some separation down the field, the Steelers are giving up. This is an insane stat. And I know it's super small sample size of just 2 games. They are giving up an explosive pass play on 24%.
That's wild.
Of their pass plays.
That's wild.
They've given up 14
Jeez.
plays over 15 yards in the passing game through 2 weeks. They are having a lot of trouble with explosives, both in the pass and the run game. And they're kind of getting torched by it. This is not the Steelers defense people expected. They have 5 Pro Bowlers on that defense, and they have not been good through 2 weeks. So you can look at it this one way. You can sit there and say, well, they're bound to, get back to where they're supposed to be, right? Your regression to the mean, right? They're bound to get back there. But at the same time, through 5 weeks, or 2 weeks, they've really struggled on defense. They're down near the bottom of the league in pretty much every statistical category on defense. So I'm interested to see this game because McDaniel should know them pretty well. He should know what to expect. And the Steelers just haven't covered very well or stopped the run very well. So I'm interested to see if the Patriots can continue what they did last week in Miami. I think they can. I think the same kind of formula could work again this week. Outside zone, duo to get downhill, bootlegs. That was a big part of Seattle averaged 13 yards per play action pass attempt in this game last week on Sunday. It's all the same notes. And Clint Kubiak is a Shanahan disciple. He coached under Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. So it's all the same things that the Patriots did in Miami last week, the Seahawks did to the Steelers defense on Sunday in Pittsburgh, and they scored 31 points. Like they won the game going away. So I think a lot of those same notes are going to exist for the Patriots again this week, and they should have some success with them. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see Aaron Rodgers too trying to run away from Harold Landry and Milton Williams. Like if I'm the Patriots, I am trying to do everything I can to get Aaron Rodgers to hold the football because he's going down like a sack of potatoes right now in the pocket when he gets pressured. So those are two things, hitting the Steelers on those explosives and then getting to Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's the key to the game right there. Let's get back to the calls. Eldred is in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred? Oh, yeah. There we go.
Hey, fellas. How y'all doing?
Hey.
Good.
Question. I was listening to you. I know they got Ramsey and they got Slay, but our receivers last week, I know the game plan changed for different things, but then we got enough power to get past those guys. Even though I think the other two teams they had some fast receivers, they got by. So that's what I was wondering. And Evan,
yes, sir.
I ain't gonna take my victory lap yet, but I'm gonna wait till middle of the season. Quentin Johnson and Dante Thornton, like I was saying before. I'm gonna take my laps after that, especially after last week's performance. But other than that, proud of May. I hope everybody does well and we win. Talk to you later. Gotta go.
Thanks, Eldred. Appreciate it. Drive safe. I said yesterday he called into PU and he didn't take a victory lap on Dante Thornton and Quentin Johnson, who both had good games in that Monday night game from what I saw. I went to bed, honestly, at halftime. I didn't see the whole game, but they looked like they played pretty well. Johnson had like a 60-yard touchdown on a deep post from Herbert in that game. So good for Eldred. You mentioned the receivers, and this is a point that we've gotten a ton of emails about, Alex. I'm glad that Eldred segued us in to the wide receivers. In the bag of things that are not so good about the Patriots right now after that win and flying high after beating Miami, what's your Pop Douglas take? What's going on with Pop Douglas? Played 15 snaps in this game, I believe it was. Just wasn't part of the game plan. Just really wasn't in the game plan. And I don't think that this is necessarily an indictment on Pop. It wasn't like he did something wrong and was benched or was pulled from the game. I don't think he was really planning on being involved in this game.
I don't know if you have the exact percentages, but they were in heavy personnel, 12, 21, 22, a lot more than they were in week one. And he's not a guy, like he's the third receiver. We've talked about this.
He's not a base receiver.
Right. He's not a receiver that you use when you're in a 2-receiver set. And I think even when they were in the 3-receiver set, Mac Hollins seeing more time. I think they wanted their better blockers out there to try to get the run game going, which they did. Now, the question is, was that a Miami Dolphins game plan thing, or was that a sign of things to come? I've said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. His ability to create after the catch, his straight line speed, they need that in the offense. Now, if he's not going to give it to them, maybe they get it from Kyle Williams. He would be the guy that kind of compares the closest, but they're going to need to get him going eventually, or at least figure out if they can't get him going, get Kyle Williams going. But I think for this game, it was about how they wanted to match it up and wanting those blockers out there. And we'll see moving forward when there's matchups that, or more, you're going to try to hunt, getting him on linebackers and on safeties and creating space and getting yards after the catch. Does he get more involved there, or do they continue to go away from him because they want the bigger personnel, or do they simply just move on to Kyle Williams? I will say it again. I do not think Efton Chisholm is his replacement.
Right.
Efton Chisholm is more in the role Stephon Diggs is in right now. Pop Douglas, there's a straight line speed element to his game that Efton Chisholm doesn't have. That is what I think makes it key that they get him or Kyle Williams going to some extent at some point. Efton Chisholm's going to be more in that Diggs role where it's the Edelman role. It's the short area quickness and reliable hands and route running and things like that.
So to your point about the personnel groupings, they were in 12 personnel, so 1 back, 2 tight ends on 20 snaps.
Yeah.
And then they had a couple 2 back packages, 1 pony, and then 1 with the fullback, which accounted for 13. So
and then they were in 22 a handful of times too, I think.
Yes. So 33 out of their 55 snaps were what we would call heavy groupings. They played 22 snaps and 3 wide receiver. So
22 snaps and 3 wide receiver.
Yeah.
So Pop Douglas was still on the field for the majority of those. There were just less of them.
Right. And so that's a big part of it to me, is that he's just not a base receiver.
Yeah.
He is a slot receiver that comes in 11 personnel. Like, he is a 3 receiver package guy. He's a slot receiver in that respect, even not skill set wise, But like in that respect, I would think, the comparison is like more Danny Amendola.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the role that Pop Douglas is playing right now for this team. He's not playing the Z receiver role. He's not Julian Edelman. He's Danny Amendola. Julian Edelman right now is Stephon Diggs.
Right.
So that's I think a good comp right now. Again, not skill set wise, but just usage wise of how they're using Pop Douglas. They wanted to get Matt Collins' run blocking into this game.
Yeah.
And whether you agree with that or not is your decision. I personally do, because I see the advantages that it brings in their early down base offense of when he blocks, he's a good blocker, he's an effective blocker, and then all of the play action stuff that they built off of that becomes because they have to worry about Matt Collins being a plus blocker.
Right.
If Matt Collins is a speed bump on the way to the ball carrier, then those linebackers and the safeties, they're not going to bite on play action when Matt Collins comes to block them, if they don't have to worry about Matt Collins being a good blocker. So they wanted to get Matt Collins' blocking. They didn't play a lot of 3 wide receiver. And the other element of this that I do think is part of it, they're seeing so much zone coverage through the first 2 weeks of the season. They're seeing zone coverage over 83% of the time when Drake Maye drops back to pass. We have talked about this a lot on this show. I thought he did a better job of it in the summer, and I hope that continues. But Pop Douglas is a man coverage beating receiver.
Yeah.
When you can get him on a matchup in man-to-man, he's a dynamic route runner. He's extremely quick. He's bursty. He is a man-to-man coverage winner. That is where he thrives. So when you see 83% of the time when you're in zone for the defense, and we can kind of unpack that as an element too, but when it's 83% of the time zone, to me, like, you're going to want your more zone reliable players in those spots, whether it's Diggs, Hollins, the tight ends, those types of players are going to be the guys that when they settle down in those zones and they present a nice, big quarterback friendly target, like that's going to be a lot easier for Drake Maye to throw those passes to those receivers settling in those zone voids than it is to hit a 5'8" receiver settling into a zone void. It is what it is. It's a body type thing. It's a skill set thing. Pop's going to get playing time. Pop's going to play, and he's going to have certain games, maybe this week. If the Steelers come out and they play a bunch of man coverage like they have in the first 2 weeks, then I think Pop's going to play, and he's going to be a factor in the game. So I'm not worried about it with Pop Douglas. I actually, in some respects, it shows to me that the coaching staff has a good feel for the roster because if they put Pop Douglas out there to kick out the force, block in the run game and play as a base receiver and all this different stuff, like they would be putting him in a position to fail. Like it just isn't what his skill set is necessarily lending itself to. I think he'll play plenty once they get into some more of these man coverage matchups. One of the things about the zone thing, though, I wanted to ask you about, you could chalk it up to 2 games, small sample size, but 83% zone is a lot of zone coverage.
Yeah.
And I feel for the way I look at it, if we want to look into it and not just chalk it up to sample size, is this a Drake Maye thing where the blueprint on Drake Maye is that he's not consistent with his accuracy. So let's keep him in the pocket. Let's make him pick us apart, just like the Raiders were able to do in week 1. And let's not let his legs and his mobility beat us. Do you see that? Because if you play man coverage and everybody runs down the field with their man and everything clears out and their C's part, like he's just going to take off. We've seen that, and he's been really effective scrambler his rookie season. So I expect to see the Patriots facing a ton of zone this year. I think that's going to be the book. All eyes on the quarterback.
They're going to do it until he gives them a reason not to, right?
Yeah, and I do think that the boots, that helps. That helps a lot against zone. It's not asking him to just drop back pass against zone coverage all the time. When you boot, not only does it cut the field in half, but the misdirection, if you have zone eyes and everybody's eyes are in the backfield at the snap because everybody's looking at the quarterback, and then you change the point of attack by bootlegging, then you get everybody flowing one way, and then the ball's out the other direction.
What happened on the Matt Collins touchdown.
Right. That's a very good way to mess with the eyes. Like all of this is eyes. It's all eye discipline. and being able to see, decipher and process for corners and safeties. If you get those eyes in the wrong places by looking in the backfield at the action, the run action, then you can really help Drake with zone. And they hit a couple of plays in this game that way against zone. Let's get back to the phones. Christian is in LA. What's up, Christian?
Hey, you guys. Nice to talk to you on your own show.
Yes, sir.
You guys get to chill, relax, talk, do some strategy. I love the X's and O's part of your show. It's an amazing show, and I love you guys for it.
Thank you.
So you guys have been talking about how Pittsburgh's defense is, or the running backs. That's kind of, to me, week 3 is kind of week 2 is kind of a liar, because week 3 seems to be the week that the adjustments really kick in. You figure out what you're good at, what you're sort of bad at in this early stage, and you make those adjustments. So I don't really see Pittsburgh allowing the same run defense that they've had over the last couple of weeks. They've figured out now we have a little bit of problem running. So I don't know if we're going to be able to run the ball the same way the last 2 teams have run on Pittsburgh. On the opposite side, let me just say I've never actually been impressed with DK Metcalf's route running. I think he's fast, big, and strong, and can go over you. But I think he lacks the subtlety in his route running to really be a threat, to rip a team apart. So I don't see that we're really, have to worry too much about their receivers. Rodgers still has a very strong arm, but he's kind of immobile now. So if we can just contain him in, I think we got a really good shot to keep their offense at bay. On our offensive side, I think it's time to unleash Kyle Williams. No team has tape on him. They don't know what we can do or how we can use him. I know he can get behind them, and I just feel like this Sunday is going to be our Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson's breakout day. I would also like, last thing, is for it to be a Stephon Diggs breakout game. And if it isn't by week 4, I think we should look at trading Stephon Diggs and getting a pick for him. What do you guys think?
Thanks for the call, Christian. So to the Kyle Williams thing, I think Kyle Williams is in a similar boat as Pop Douglas. Kyle Williams, I think, is going to be a lot more dangerous against teams that play a lot of man-to-man, where his speed and his route running and his releases can really give teams trouble. So again, if the Steelers come out and play the brand of defense they've played in the first 2 weeks, which they might not because they've gotten torched, so they might just kind of throw it out and say, we got to start over here. They Pop Douglas, Kyle Williams, this might be more of their kind of game for that reason. So you might get that. To the Diggs thing, I'm going to be a little bit defensive with Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
It's not because of what happened earlier with his press conference a couple weeks ago. It's not that. I just think that he's been exactly what I wanted him to be for this team so far. And those high leverage, gotta have it 3rd and 4th down, late down opportunities when they go for it on 4th down in the beginning of the game against Miami. The way that he ran that route and just how calm, cool, collected he was and how quarterback friendly he was, that's why he's here. He's here to move the chains. And maybe he's not going to have the 1,000+ yards or average over 10 yards a carry or catch, like he used to. But for Drake, it's so calming and it's so important for him to have a receiver that in 3rd down and 8 with the game on the line, he can go to Diggs and he can trust Diggs to get open. That's such a crucial thing for a quarterback. I can't understand how important and how just much pressure that takes off the quarterback to know that he has a go-to guy in those situations. So if all Diggs does is move the chains on 3rd and 4th down, that's worth the money to me because they just haven't had that guy. They haven't had that guy probably since Jacoby Myers, but really since Edelman. They haven't had that guy, and that reliability and that ability to focus in there is just, it's huge for this team. What were we going to say?
Let's also not forget he's less than a year removed from a torn ACL. There is going to be a build-up process. You're not going to get the Stephon Diggs you got in Buffalo. You shouldn't be of that assumption. If he's moving the chains for you and coming up big on 3rd down and 4th down and things like that, he was their leading receiver among wide receivers on Sunday. You can't you can't talk about trading him. They need him on this team right now.
Yeah.
There's no the breakout game might not happen. He might just steadily be 5 catches, 50 yards, 4 of them for first downs. Like that might be what he is each week. Great. They're paying him this much money and blah blah blah. It's a lot of incentives.
And plus when it's like the money downs, when it's 3rd and 7 and the game is on the line and he picks up 8 or 9 yards, like it's worth it. It's
having a guy that can do that consistently and regularly. They haven't had that since Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
You need somebody who you rely on to do that. And I know people like Efton Chisholm. He had a really good summer, and I do think he has a future in this league. I don't know that with a young quarterback, you're just turning to an undrafted rookie kind of sight unseen in such a major role.
So the other thing that Christian brought up there was the run game and Pittsburgh adjusting and being better against the run, which I think is possible, especially Hayward and TJ Watt just saying like enough of this run game nonsense.
Yeah.
Like we're kind of taking over. What I think is interesting though about the Patriots run game from week 1 to week 2, they actually had almost identical success rates in week 1 to week 2. I know it didn't feel like that, but they were 36% success rate in week 2 and a 35% success rate in week 1. Now, they had a couple of explosive runs in week 2 that they didn't get in week 1. Ramondre's 21-yarder and Gibson's 15-yarder were big plays in this game. But you just see the balance and how important that balance is to just setting up play action. And even if they don't run the ball super effectively, just committing to the run early in the game like they did on Sunday where they came out against the Dolphins. I think they ran the ball on the first 3 plays of the game. That all it does is just set up everything else that they're trying to do.
Right.
So even if they're not running the ball super effectively, I think what they learned from week 1 is that you have to still stick with the run game in the second half. Like they went away from the run game in the second half against the Raiders and they lost all of the window dressing from the offense. They lost all the play action. They lost all the bootlegging. They lost all the motion from the offense.
Drop back passing.
Right. It was stagnant drop back pass, and they just can't play that way. So I think that they learned their lesson on that. You know, they ran the ball traditionally in week 1 17 times. In week 2, that was 25 times. Like that's just a big difference.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a huge difference. All right. Mark is in Connecticut. What's up, Mark?
Hey guys, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Hey.
All right. Just got 2 quick things for you. One observation and then the other one a question. The first observation that I noticed and I've been calling for a long time on is to use Drake Maye's abilities, which is the rolling out of the pocket and getting him on the move to throw. And that was just amazing that I saw in the second game versus Miami that they did a lot of that. And he just looked really comfortable doing that. And I'm hoping that they'll keep incorporating those kind of, attributes that the kid has into that. The question that I have is Kyle Williams. Is he a guy that is able to beat the zone coverage on the outside with his speed and the strong hands that the kid has? That's my question on you guys.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it's a good question. I look at Kyle Williams as the guy that's going to be better off against man. Like when they can get him off the line of scrimmage, open him up, get his speed going, get the dynamic routes, different body types. Like he's a little bit bigger than Pop Douglas, but similar idea as Pop Douglas, where Hollins, Booty, Diggs, like those guys are the guys to me that are the zone beating receivers that are going to find those soft spots, that are going to know, if it's cover 2, too high safety, like the corner is going to be trapping or squatting in the flat and like where's that hole right behind him, or if it's cover 3, that ability to run off the corner and then kind of hitch, underneath it. Yeah. Like those types of things I think are more a feel for those guys. And again, if the Steelers play a lot of man coverage, because I can tell by the calls and the emails that people want to get Douglas and Kyle Williams going.
I mean, yeah, like you want this because the offense needs the speed. And that's not, I don't want to come across as saying those guys are, the fast and conversation. There's an and with both of them. Pop Douglas, his ability to win at the top of the route and man coverage, his ability to create after the catch. Kyle Williams, the release, his ability to get off the line. He has an ability to create after the catch as well. But I get it. You want to get the speed going. That you can't force it. You also don't want to just force it and kind of handcuff yourself from everything else you're doing.
Okay, so a couple of emails to wrap up the show here. So one theory on running left versus running right and favoring running left was this is from Will in Toronto talking about the stunting on the left side that we saw in the preseason that gave Campbell and Jared Wilson problems. I think one of the things that you might be seeing, and this could go either way, I could hear arguments for both sides. They're running a lot more outside zone. And actually, in outside zone, I would say the backside blocks are just as important as the front side blocks because you're trying to set up those cutback lanes back through the middle of the field. So if they feel like Moses and Onwenu are their best run blockers, like they might actually, sometimes teams will run outside zone away from their best blocker so that he can try to pin down the defense and create those cutback lanes. So that might be a part of it. Duo is kind of similar, where like if you run duo, you're running towards the tight end usually in duo. And if you want to do that, then like, again, like kind of bouncing or cutting up the field might be the better path. And if you put your best blockers on the backside of duo, then you might be able to kind of set up a crease for them to cut back that way too. So they did run power right behind Morgan Moses in the right side, and Morgan Moses and Austin Hooper were on a double team that caved in the line and got that 21-yard run going. So maybe it's your thing is just the simplest path forward, right? Like your best run blockers run right behind them. But I do think some of the schemes that they're running in the run game now might favor your best run blockers actually being on the back side of the run instead of the front side of the run. Plus, like if you want to try to get the edge on the outside zone, like Campbell is much more likely to get the edge than Morgan Moses, like because of his athleticism. So this is from John in Louisiana. He's making fun of you, Alex. So Alex, I watched you and Brian Hines, shout out Brian Hines, Dolphins versus Patriots preview. And you said, I quote, "If you want to be that team, go be Miami. We look at all the motion." This does sound like something that you would say.
Yeah.
And that's all that was replaying in my head Sunday because Miami was motioning us to death. I blame you because that was an all-time quote. LOL.
Who won the game? Which coach is going to be employed at this time next week?
Who ran more motion this week versus last week? Patriots.
Okay. Well, the Patriots' motion had purpose.
It did.
The Dolphins got called for a costly illegal shift penalty.
That's true.
And again, who won the game? I have no problem with motion with purpose.
Yes.
We're going to run this guy back and forth, left and right 5 times because we just want to wear out your corner.
As Josh McDaniel said, motioning is fun. Which my words, not his. I think that's kind of him being like, all right, your cute little motions.
But it's like
right?
Okay, well, yeah, no. I think the Dolphins' motion at times out of hubris. I think Mike McDaniel wants to look cool and wants people to post the clips on Twitter and be like, what a genius this guy is.
It looks fancy. There's no doubt about that.
Does it do anything? Sometimes it does. I'm not saying it always doesn't, but are the motions he's doing legal? And if he's getting away with it, fine, credit to him, but
I don't think that their motions at the snap always have a purpose. The cheat motions where they motion Hill into the route is like impossible to defend.
You mean the one where he gets a running start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's impossible to defend. Since that email is picking on you, I'll pick on myself with this email. Noah emails in, Alex, are you hearing this? Evan's a run game apologist now. I've gotten a couple of these that people, both sides, but some people are worried.
No, you're in on establishing the run now. This is great.
Some people are worried that I'm so run game centric right now, as in like, oh God, Evan doesn't think that they can do anything else good, so they have to run the ball. And then some people are making fun of me for being a run game apologist. I want to be clear about my run game thoughts. My run game thoughts are running the ball to set up play action. That's why I want them to run the football. It's not to be, oh yeah, we're gonna ground and pound, and we're gonna out.
At a certain point, there's not much of a difference.
We're gonna be the tougher team and bite kneecaps. No, that's not what it is.
At a certain point, there's not much of a difference.
There is.
You got to establish the run. You have to establish the run.
Okay, but I'm just being very crystal clear that it's not.
Is establishing the run important? Yes or no?
To this offense, yes.
All right.
There you go. That make you happy?
Yes, very much.
Want to talk about a few injuries here in the last 5 minutes of the show?
Sure.
One of them I think is kind of under the radar. This is from Michael in Pine Grove. Should we be concerned about Morgan Moses, especially against TJ Watt this week? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I actually got a question in my mailbag this week that was, what's the drop off from Morgan Moses to Marcus Bryant? I really didn't know how to answer it because we just
haven't seen
don't.
him.
Right. We don't have a ton of exposure.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to be encouraged by what you saw from from Marcus Bryant this summer. Like, he had a good summer, and I don't know that he was a player that was always going to make the team. I think he earned his way onto the team, and he deserves credit, and he had a good summer, and happy to see it. It was a lot against backups, and TJ Watt's a pretty big jump from the average backup you see in the NFL. So I don't know if the question was about injury or if it was just about wanting to bench Morgan Moses because of the false starts or whatever, which I think would be premature.
It was about injury.
Well, the question I got, I'm saying, but because these are from Sports Hub listeners.
Yeah.
where there's generally a little more emphasis on this guy sucks.
Yeah.
But
I wonder why.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly, I kind of skipped it, and I apologize because I don't know what the drop-off is. I don't know what Marcus Bryant's going to look like in the NFL. I don't know that this is the week I want to find out up against TJ Watt and kind of drop him in cold. They might have to, depending on where Morgan Moses is at health-wise. But we talked about this before the season. They have so many rookies in key roles, and there were 6 that were starting right away. Marcus Bryant is kind of a quick 7th. Only 17 tackles last year, started all 17 games for their teams. Only 2 teams, I think it was the Titans and Packers, had both tackles start all 17 games. So odds are Marcus Bryant, we're going to see him at some point. We're going to have to find out.
Against TJ Watt might not be the
nothing
week.
against the kid. This is probably not the week you want to do that.
So I think Morgan Moses, I know I almost had him on the downs. He was not particularly good in this game on Sunday, but he also wasn't bad by any means.
If not for the penalties, I think you kind of just move on. He wasn't good or bad. He was kind of fine. And the penalties are what sink it.
And that's such an improvement from where their right tackle play has been.
Right.
That he's really earned that set it and forget it money so far, I would say. Week 1, he was really, really good against Matt Crosby. Last week he was hurt, but there's a bunch of reporting coming out of the locker room post game in Miami that I think Doug Kyde said he saw him with a boot on his foot. A lot of limping from Morgan Moses. I would highly doubt, and this is just speculation and has 0 shelf life because we're going to find out in like 2 hours. I would highly doubt that he's going to practice on Wednesday. I feel like he might be a veteran rest/injury rest Wednesday player all year.
Yeah.
As a 34-year-old in this league. So I am a little bit worried about Morgan Moses. It changes a lot, in my opinion, if it's Marcus Bryant against TJ Watt instead of Morgan Moses. Like, now you have to kind of reinvent your entire
protection scheme,
protection plan. Like, 100%.
I will say this about Morgan Moses, though, and there was a lot of talk about his age when they signed him. He plays. And he'll tough through it, and he'll play hurt. He didn't miss after his rookie year. He didn't miss a game until 2023, and then he's missed 3 games each of the last 2 years. That's pretty solid for a tackle to play 28 games over the span of 2 years. He has missed some time the last couple years. He's gotten on this other side of 30. You hope this isn't one of the you don't want him to miss any games, but this especially you hope isn't a game that he misses. But he's not somebody I worry about being like, I don't want to risk it this week. No, I think if he can go, he'll go. And if it means in a walking boot after the game and he's limited in practice during the week, if he can get out there on Sunday, he seems like the kind of guy that will get out there on Sunday.
So last thing here, speaking of 0 shelf lives, but there are a bunch of people watching live.
Okay.
Do we or do we not see Christian Gonzalez at practice over the next couple of days?
I mean, I feel like Vrabel's saying there's a chance he plays this week. He's not going to say that and then not have him practice, right?
You're saying there's a chance.
Here's where I'm at with Christian Gonzalez.
Yes.
I actually think that what it comes down to is what has he been able to do behind the scenes? We've talked about this before. Corner is not a position, not that practice is not important, but it's not like wide receiver where you got to get the timing down with the quarterback and the timing down with the other guys running the routes and the context of the offense and the chemistry. Corner it's more in the film room than on the practice field, the way they're going to play it, man coverage, right? Study this guy, learn his route tree, learn the nuances of his release, things like that, and go use that against him on Sunday. That's what you do. So if Gonzalez can still do that, it's just what kind of shape is he in? Because he hasn't practiced in 6 months.
It's the conditioning element.
If they've been being especially careful, right, and he's still running around, he's still doing his conditioning on a side field, they didn't want him taking the contact then he may be able to go this week if he returns to practice. If it's actually been bad and he couldn't even do the conditioning, then you're probably looking at another week even once he returns to practice.
Or maybe even it's just like third downs. Like, can you play him in third downs and like 2 minute?
Hamstrings are just so weird. It's like,
but even that, like if he plays 25 snaps, I think it's a good thing to do just to kind of ease him back
Justin
in.
Fields
Anyways.
this week for the Jets.
All right. Let's hear it for the team. Bob's Discount Furniture just opened its 200th store, and you can join in on the celebration. Make your way to your nearest store to shop the latest styles like the Phantom Power reclining sofa made for kicking back on game day, the Elm dining set made with real marble that's sure to impress the home team, and the stylish Calvin bedroom designed to help you dream up your next tailgate party. Plus, you can enjoy free treats, limited edition stickers, and more surprises this Labor Day weekend. So stop in and check out the winning lineup at Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. All right, don't worry. 2 more hours of Patriots radio coming up here, Patriots Unfiltered. We'll get you going here in a few minutes. Alex and I will be back next week to talk about the Steelers game and preview the Carolina Panthers in week 4. We're moving now, Alex. Week 3, almost week 4. We'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.